Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. And the topic of the day, well, listen, I told you the night. I remember where I was, what I was doing the night that John Calipari officially accepted the Arkansas job. I said, we are going to have so much content going forward. Kentucky at the time needed a new head coach. Both teams needed 11, 12, 13 players potentially going forward. And so I said, we are going to talk about both of these programs a lot. I know whenever we talk Kentucky, Arkansas fans get mad. I know whenever we talk Arkansas, Kentucky fans get mad. But these two programs for the foreseeable future are going to be intertwined. Obviously, when Arkansas takes Kentucky's head coach, when Arkansas, frankly, is probably going to have 6, 7, 8, 9 guys on their roster that either played at Kentucky or were committed to Kentucky, there is no way that we can separate the two going forward. And so what I want to do today, I just want to spend a little time on each program talking about where we are right now. Each program has one player committed as of 7:11 Eastern time on Wednesday, April 17th. This stuff changes quick, but I think both programs are kind of sitting there saying, what's next, Torres? When are we going to get some piece of news? My buddy John Neighbors, who hosted Arkansas, he's tweeted about 9 days in a row. This is about to be the craziest day ever, and it hasn't been. And so what I want to do is get you caught up on what is going on, what is next for both of these programs. I do think we will start with Arkansas and their head coach, John Calipari. By the way, I've seen it in the YouTube comments. I know I'm going to call John Calipari Kentucky's coach at least 2,000 times between now and the time he retires. But forgive me, there is going to be a lot of tripping up because this story is still surreal to me. With that said, let's start with Arkansas. And I think Arkansas is the right place to start for this very simple reason. They're just bluntly a little bit further along in the process. Obviously, John Calipari accepts that job about 4 or 5 days before Kentucky fills its vacancy. John Calipari, obviously, we knew was probably going to be able to bring more players with him potentially between the players that were on that Kentucky roster and players that were committed to Kentucky. And so it feels like they're just a day, 2, 3, 4 ahead of Mark Pope and Kentucky. And I want to start with Arkansas. First of all, good news. Arkansas, congratulations. As of 7:13 Eastern time, y'all got one player. We talked about it on Monday night, but Big Z, Zvonimir Ivisic, is officially an Arkansas Razorback, okay? And so first off, I think there is a lot of reason for Arkansas fans to be excited about this player. We actually did a full video on the YouTube channel. If you're an Arkansas fan and you missed it, we put it on the podcast feed Tuesday morning as well. I think you should be excited if you're an Arkansas fan. Now listen, Kentucky people will tell you, oh, he's not that good, and Cal didn't use him right, whatever, bottom line. The bottom line is this. First of all, I am not surprised that he followed Calipari to Arkansas. See, there was the first slip right there. I'm not surprised Big Z followed Cal to Arkansas, okay? Listen, I know what Kentucky fans did for this kid. Billboard in Indianapolis when the NCAA issues popped up. But John Calipari was the coach that believed in Big Z. John Calipari was the coach that fought to bring him to the United States. John Calipari, by the way, was the guy who fought his own admissions department at his old school to get Big Z in. And so I always felt like Big Z was going to follow him. I know the night of the Mark Pope press conference, there was a picture of Big Z in the facility. And so you thought maybe Big Z would stay, but he briefly met with Mark Pope, and on Monday night, he ends up committing to Arkansas. Not going to spend a ton of time. We already did a reaction video, but listen, I think the kid has a chance to be really, really good at Arkansas. I know what everyone will say, oh, Cal misused him last year, and how good could he be? He only played 11 and a half minutes. Well, remember, he played 11 and a half minutes. He came in August because Kentucky had no idea what they were going to get out of their front court a year ago. Listen, everybody wants to blame Cal for everything, but he, in the middle of the summer, lost 2 starting setters in Aaron Bradshaw and Agana and Yenso. And so because of it, he basically had to, on the fly, find a 7-footer out of nowhere. So he gets Big Z to campus. Then Bradshaw gets healthy. Onyenso gets healthy. Trey Mitchell gets to campus. And all of a sudden, there's a logjam at the 4 and the 5 spots. And so, listen, one of the benefits, I think, of John Calipari starting over at Arkansas is that he is going to have a chance to build this team how he wants, completely from scratch with the players that he wants. And obviously, he's not going to be beholden to getting, a couple players, here, there, or keeping players or keeping. No. Cal has always been a guy that he has been at his best when he has about a 7-8 man rotation. He had way too many guys this year, and I think there's a chance that Big Z is really good for Arkansas next year. Remember, not only did he come late, didn't get eligible until early to mid-January after SEC play started, but in the games in which Cal rode him, Big Z was really good, okay? So first off, and again, I promise we won't spend too much time on Big Z, but 13 points, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks, 3 3-pointers made in that opener against Georgia, 18 points in the win against Bama, 12 points in a win, ironically, against Arkansas late in the year at Rupp Arena. And I've referenced this a few times, but he was kind of the X factor in that win against Mississippi State in which Reed Sheppard hit the buzzer beater. Big Z controlled the paint against that tough, physical Mississippi State team. 3 blocks, 21 minutes of play, probably defensively his best game. And so you give him a whole offseason. You give him a whole offseason in a strength and conditioning program. And I believe Big Z is going to be really good at Arkansas. So he's the first Razorback. Now let's talk about what's next. We already talked about him. I know I went a little long there. Forgive me. But let's go ahead and talk about what is potentially next for the Razorbacks. And what I would tell you is this, is that I think we will hear another commitment at Arkansas. I believe personally, listen, I have no personal insight into this, but I feel very confident that we will get a commitment from at Arkansas over the next, I think, 24 to 36 hours with the Razorbacks. Why do I say that? Well, first of all, as everybody knows by now, of the 5 players that were committed to John Calipari at Kentucky, of the 6 players, 5 have decommitted and asked out of their letters of intent if they've signed. Boogie Flan did it on Monday. Billy Richmond did it on Tuesday. Jaden Quaintance did it last week. Samto Cyril and also Carter Knox as well. So why do I feel like we're going to get a commitment in the next couple days? Did you see where Calipari was on Tuesday afternoon? So Overtime Elite, it's that prep school-ish thing in Atlanta. They had kind of an NBA-like combine, brought in a bunch of coaches, got access to their players, this, that, the other thing, colleges and pro scouts. Why do I bring it up? 2 of the players that were committed to Kentucky under Calipari that have since decommitted and asked out of their letters of intent, Carter Knox and Samto Cyril, were both there. Carter Knox, 6'6" wing. He, of course, of the famous chicken man emoji in his Instagram bio. Samto Cyril, 6'9", 6'10", bruiser down low, who actually tested really well. People were sending me videos of him with 35, 36-inch vertical leap. And I just bring it up because those are 2 guys that, were committed to Kentucky, are now not committed to Kentucky. But I just bring it up to say that I don't think that John Calipari is making that visit unless he feels very comfortable with both players, or at the very least one incoming, right? Cal's not dumb. Cal's not stupid. Cal isn't going somewhere to recruit a player that he has no chance at. And so my guess is that was probably to cross the I's and dot the T's. You see pictures of him with Chin Coleman, one of his lead assistants at Kentucky. You assume, by the way, that Chin Coleman is probably coming with him to Arkansas. I know Matt Norlander put it out the other day. So Chin Coleman and Calipari roll through the OTE event. Again, 2 former Kentucky commits, 1 officially signed a letter of intent. Both asked out are there. I feel pretty good that both are going to end up at Arkansas with Calipari. What gets interesting to me, what about the other guys that were committed to Calipari at Kentucky? So in total, there were 5. We just mentioned Carter Knox and Samto Cyril, both at Overtime Elite. Well, it's interesting because Jaden Quaintance, #1 center in America, Boogie Fland, 5-star McDonald's All-American guard, and Billy Richmond have all asked out of their letters of intent. But at least 2 of them have publicly basically said, we're opening this thing up and we're really looking at all our options. So first off, I want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to somebody that I did not think I would be shouting out. But it looks like new Louisville head coach Pat Kelsey might be the thorn in John Calipari's side on some of these kids more than Mark Pope in Kentucky will be. That is because Jaden Quaintance, after opening his recruitment, is set to visit Louisville this week. Listen, I don't know where it all came from. I don't know what all the deal is with all of that. But the fact is that this kid has opened his recruitment, and it's actually Louisville that will be getting his first visit. In the very near future. So Louisville and Pat Kelsey are getting that first visit. Oh, by the way, Boogie Fland, producer Matt, go ahead and pop up Boogie Fland. He spoke with Paul Biancardi today. Boogie Fland, and according to Paul Biancardi, this is what he said. I am back to square one. I am open to hearing about other schools. This is the second time around, so it will be more of a straightforward process. NIL definitely plays a part, but the basketball and coaches are most important. Wherever I go, understand that I have to earn my playing time. I will look to set up visits soon. Here are some of the schools that have reached out. Louisville, just mentioned, Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Florida State, Pittsburgh, St. John's, Illinois, Providence, and Seton Hall. Thank you, producer Matt. I appreciate that. So with Boogie Fland, it's really interesting. So again, Jaden Quaintance, #1 center in America, is set to visit Louisville. I still think the ties to Calipari and Arkansas are very good, but you just don't know if he is considering other schools. Boogie Fland, to me, it's the exact same thing. It feels like he is truly open. Now, I was told when this all started, he was going to stay loyal to Cal, going to follow to Arkansas, but it sounds like he really is open to other options. He's from New York, so is St. John's a factor? Listen, Rick Pitino has been very open about this NIL world. Mike Rapoli, their lead donor, has said, I will give whatever it takes in NIL to help St. John's put the best basketball product on the floor. Again, also want to give a credit to Pat Kelsey, the head coach at Louisville, because the reports are that Louisville has been as aggressive as anyone in trying to get this kid to campus. And so we will see what happens from there. It sounds like both these kids, Jaden Quaintance and Boogie Fland, really are, to their credit, taking their time, factoring in everything, and seeing what options are out there. Listen, they should. This is a life decision, right? You obviously had a years-long relationship with John Calipari and that staff, but this is your future. This is your life. I will never blame a kid for looking at all of his options, and I'd be very curious to see if there is a scenario where these kids end up somewhere other than Arkansas. Billy Richmond, by the way, the fifth guy that I've mentioned, he's from Memphis. His dad played for Calipari at Memphis, and so he actually transferred high schools to play in Camden, New Jersey. We'll be curious. Kind of right across the border. Does it make sense? Arkansas, close to home in Memphis. We'll see what happens there. I still feel like the 2 OTE kids, Samto Cyril and Carter Knox, are probably the 2 most likely to follow Calipari to Arkansas. Really quickly, last thought on the Arkansas stuff. First off, let me give Cal credit for this, man. You know, he said even before he left Kentucky, he said our goal is to be a little bit more balanced. We are always going to recruit the 5 stars. We're always going to recruit the one and dones. But at the same time, we also need to get older. We need to get older. We need to be in the portal a little bit more. And that's something that I think Cal is seriously taking into account right now. So we've seen some schools. We've seen some names. Adam Zagoria referenced Jeremy Roach, the point guard from Duke. We're going to do a full all-encompassing portal update here in just a moment. But Adam Zagoria referenced Duke or Jeremy Roach. Again, I talked to Aiden Mahaney's former AAU coach, Ryan Silver, earlier in the day on whatever today is, Wednesday. He said Aiden Mahaney heard from Arkansas, heard from a lot of the Blue Bloods, including UConn, and we'll talk about all that later, Kentucky as well. But I give Cal credit. He is certainly being more aggressive in the portal. I still think he's going to take at least 2, maybe more of those recruits from Kentucky to Arkansas. And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens from there. Last thing on Arkansas, I do want to switch gears to Kentucky. Staff. So listen, we saw the Matt Norlander report a few weeks ago, or a few days after Calipari took the Arkansas job, that most of the band would be following Calipari to Arkansas. Chin Coleman, as I said, was with him at that OTE event on Tuesday. Feels pretty safe to say Chin Coleman is staying with him. By the way, if you follow this stuff at all, Chin Coleman throughout the year kept calling him the GOAT. Listen, this is what the GOAT says. This is what the GOAT does. This is what the GOAT's going to do. So we are following the GOAT's lead. Chin Coleman talking about John Calipari in those reverential terms. Same time, Orlando Antigua is a man in demand, okay? We've talked about him quite a bit. East Coast, Northeast, New York guy, really played a pivotal role in a lot of Calipari's best recruits at Kentucky early. He leaves to take a head coaching job, comes back the last 3 or 4 years with Cal. Couple interesting things. One, I've heard he is obviously being a free agent in heavy demand from some really good other programs. Don't know what his ultimate goal is. Don't know what his decision will be. But I do believe that he is being coveted by a lot of places. I've been told, and I've seen Kentucky's trying to retain him under Mark Pope. So we're going to talk about the Mark Pope stuff in a moment. But this Cal stuff is fascinating. We will see. They got Big Z. That's really all we really officially know right now. But again, I would expect some news, in the coming days. By the way, as you can see on the bottom screen here, Torres on the Hogs. Torres on the Hogs is where the late breaking Arkansas news comes from. Make sure to follow there.